Hello, everyone. This is William del Pilar, and this is Fired Up. Your source for conservative talk used to be on Friday. Now it is on Thursdays, at least for a temporary basis. I'm checking some things out here, and we got a great show for you guys tonight. We are going to talk about some of the topics we missed out on from last week. We're going to talk about Barry Weiss, the shakeup at CBS from the inside. It seems like every time a liberal entity tries to correct their newsrooms, they get pushed back and the pushback wins. It shows the inmates are definitely running the asylums, and it's kind of cowardly, pathetic, and so anti-American. And why do I say it's anti-American? Because it doesn't build nothing. It builds nothing. They had got hate going on at the CBS studios. We've seen CBS 60 Minutes. They went from the the ending of their heyday to dog dude. I mean, how you doing there, Mr. Obama? I love you so much. What's up, Bob? You got my knee pads perfect. Leave the bond over. To Trump. That's not true, Mr. President. That's not true. That's not true. A couple years later, turns out that was true. And that's what Barry Weiss has to deal with. Then we're going to talk about other stories. The boat, the sinking of these drug running boats. That was for a while in the military. It is true. Once you get in those comms, you hear those boats talking. You're they're drug runners. No big secret. I wish they would release some of those comms. And we've got quite a few other stories to go through, including the renovation of the White House. I have never seen TDS at its fullest than I have with this. You know, the hypocrisy of CNN. We're going to talk about that. You know, it's mind boggling, my friends. It is mind boggling. And to San Francisco, the powers that be overruled the people that wanted Trump to bring in the National Guard. That is on hold for a moment. And we've got a bunch of other stories we're going to get into with the wonderful Miss Annette Ross tonight. Before we get there, though, do not forget to bookmark grumblingsmedia.com. You can follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, and Pandora under the handle Grumblings Media. I apologize. I have a hair in my eye there. With that out of the way, let us bring on the beautiful Miss Annette Ross. Annette, how are you doing?
Good evening, William. I'm good. How are you?
How's it feel to be on a Thursday night?
I like it.
There you go. What do you like about it? There you go. Well, you know, I think we should just get right on into it. Our first topic is what is our first topic for the night? Trump has halted the federal surge in San Francisco. So, you know, President Trump, he announced a cancellation of a planned federal immigration enforcement surge in San Francisco after requests from the city's mayor and prominent tech executives. One thing I got out of this, Silicon Valley still runs San Francisco. I mean, they pay off they don't pay off, but with donations, all these politicians, you know, are literally in their pockets. They said, no, 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 Senor Trump. You know, we don't need you to come in. And what do you think? First of all, what's your thought on them not going in?
Okay, I have to say I like it. And why I like it is because at least the way it was portrayed on the news by the mayor himself was that it was a partnership, that he spoke to Trump, that Trump heard, he gave Trump the new stats. They're down 70% in, like serious crime. They're down like 25% in robberies and theft. And so he's putting out all the stats. Stats can be manipulated, but he's making it seem like they're on the rise. They're doing the right things in San Francisco. And would you please, Mr. President, just give us a moment to keep on what we're doing? And I think he was reasonable. As he is sometimes. He is very reasonable. And I think he made the right decision there. I think he's taking him at his word, right?
That's all they can do is take him at their word. Because
Well, yeah.
real quick before, well, actually, I'm being sarcastic, and I'll tell you why. But real quick to the audience, this is what he said. It's a long read here. The federal government was preparing to surge San Francisco, California on Saturday. But friends of mine who live in the area called last night to ask me not to go forward with the surge.
Right.
And that Mayor Daniel Lurie was making substantial progress. I spoke to Mayor Lurie last night, and he asked very nicely that I give him a chance to see if he can turn it around. I told him I think he's making a mistake because we can do it much faster and remove the criminals that the law does not permit him to remove. Now, here's my problem with these numbers. As I have studied these numbers last many years, to be quite honest, my problem is this: felonies have been reduced to misdemeanors.
You're saying they're soft on crime.
Felonies have been dropped to misdemeanors. Cops are not even arresting individuals because they know they're not going to be prosecuted. The criminals know they're not going to be prosecuted, so they willingly commit the crime. And I specifically talked about San Francisco about a year and a half ago in regards when the Ricky Persall shooting happened. Those numbers are out of whack. So I don't necessarily believe these. In fact, I don't believe these numbers. And what is my proof? Chicago, the numbers have been played with. In DC, we were shown, and there were witnesses, and the guy was suspended. Why? Because he said y'all playing with the numbers. I know for a fact from a retired cop here in San Diego, they play with the numbers. This is not an outlier where they're not where somebody's playing with the numbers. They all do, because just like politics, you have politics at work, and as these chiefs want to go up the ladder, they fudge the numbers.
Sure.
Yeah, drop that crime to this, drop that crime to that. So the people were screaming for help, and it was a politician. And hey, God bless all these people, but the people screaming for help are the ones who are dealing with the crime. The DA, the mayor, they all live in secure, guarded complexes or suburbs. They don't have to deal with this. Just like when Chelsea Bourdain or whatever his name was recalled when they broke down the districts. When they broke down the districts, all the districts that were working class, that were poor, that were brown, black, and I assume yellow, as well, since it's very Asian up there with individuals. I don't even know if that's politically correct to say yellow, red, yellow, brown, who knows? Y'all know what I mean. The Asians, blacks, and Latinos, they were all in these crime-ridden districts, and they voted this guy out. So I think, well, first of all, give me your thoughts on them potentially fudging these numbers.
I have a book right behind me, William, right behind me that my uncle gave to me. It's like written in the 1950s, How to Lie with Statistics. So they've been doing it forever. Okay?
Right.
So how to lie with statistics. They embellish statistics. They do polls a certain way. They put their bias. So I don't really have a lot of faith in statistics because I know how they can be manipulated. So yes, I don't know. He gave those numbers. He gave a little press conference to the mayor. He threw those numbers out. He obviously had a conversation with the president. What I appreciate, though, is the president saying, hey, listen, think we can do better, but I'll let you still keep on continuing to try. I actually appreciate the president sort of looking like he's trying to have a partnership with a city that isn't ready to bring in the troops. A lot of cities are making a big deal out of it, and it's like an imposition. And I don't actually think it's helping the look of the presidency at the moment. So sounding like they're having a partnership or putting that out there in this way, saying, let's have you try it first. And if it doesn't continue to get better, we're going to go in. I don't know. I think that's reasonable. And I don't see that.
Well, I'm not arguing that, Annette.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
But I love it.
But let's be frank, it's TDS. Democrats right now are okay with Americans dying, being maimed, being mugged, men beating up on girls in the name of equality in sports. They're okay with that. You don't believe me? Look at BLM. They were okay with the friendly fires. They were okay with the murders of Captain Dolan. They were okay with all of that for the greater good. That's a Democrat mantra I learned as a kid coming up, very liberal. And that's what I think is happening here. Newsom is the worst. He shut down the I-5 last week, and he lied. Well, they're going to be shooting over the people, which was a lie. He was okay with screwing with people's lives to gain political curry, So I don't trust these numbers, but I think Trump did the right move. And I think Trump did the right move because midterms are coming up. They're looking for a catalyst. Trump's got his hands full with the National Guard everywhere. Let's hold off. It's California. He gains nothing from California. It's a blue state anyway. Plus, some of the close congressional races, why go poke a hornet's nest? LA's a different story. That was well before, and he's lost that battle. I think this is more of a midterm play. Campaign season's getting ready. We are entering the beginning months of campaign season now. As you're well aware, we're entering that mode right now. So I think his advisor is saying, Mr. President, come on. And he's saying, okay. To me, it's more that than working with Democrats who have consistently not been truthful.
Well, so you think that the president is listening to one of his advisors?
Look, here's the big lie about Trump that liberals and Democrats say. Trump doesn't do anything. He listens and tells them what they want, and they carry it out. That's how he built his empire in construction. He knows that, and that's why loyalty. See, me and Big John, for example, we're completely different. He didn't care about loyalty. Well, when you're in a corporate setting, You let somebody go, somebody else replaces them. Let somebody go,
Mhm.
somebody else replaces them. When you do a startup, when you work in the military, you have to have somebody watching your six. When you do those types, loyalty is extremely important. When you're building something and you're the big honcho, loyalty is everything. You have to be qualified. That's the given. But loyalty is tantamount. So he's always listened to his advisors, not the problem, but the issue when you have a strong leader is he tells his guys, this is what I want. Make it happen. But Trump's more savvy as a politician this time around. Your thoughts on if you think this is a midterm issue? And Jimmy, Annette is back.
Hi, Jimmy. Yeah, I think that's actually a great point. And I'll be honest with you, I hadn't thought of it. I just thought he was trying to, stand back a little bit and be a little bit compromising, be a little bit diplomatic, believe taking the guy at his word, the mayor at his word, and say, hey, we could do it better and faster, but I'm going to let you continue on. You believe it's surging. You believe things are headed in a positive direction. Okay. I didn't think of it in terms of the midterms, but I thought it was a good move. And, hey, listen, you said it. You think that's going to change the seat in California?
Yes, some of the congressional races, there's no reason. Look,
Midterm.
Armin Kurdian, who is running for California Senate District 38, I just put out a short from the interview, and he said it best on the short. It's not the best candidate who wins. It's a candidate who's most organized, has the most money, has a campaign strategy. And contrary to what Democrats say, they have the political machine built from the 20s still existing, and it's on steroids here in California. Not only that, they had the mail-in ballots, where 4 weeks after the election, they squeak out by a few hundred or a few thousand votes the win every time. Remember Michelle Steele the first time around? Not Michelle Steele, the one with short hair at Orange County. She was at her at the rookie or the freshman indoctrination and found out 2 weeks later, no, you lost. Get back over here.
Well,
So my point
I
is,
have to take issue with you. I'm just sorry. I know we cannot get too far into this topic, but I really have a very serious question. Do you actually believe that it's always the candidate with the most money that wins?
no, not every time,
But
but most of the time, yes.
how would you throw that percentage out? 80% of the time?
I won't throw a percentage out because there's data on there that shows it, and you just got to find it. But yes, that's actually not even a debatable point.
I don't.
You don't have the money, you can't compete. It really is. What's the most important thing for a politician that is the biggest problem with the Republican Party today?
Oh, that's a great question.
Not really. It's an easy question.
Okay, I don't know the answer.
It's get out the vote. It's your ground game. There's not one
You mean
election, no matter how
the grassroots?
the ground game that includes the grassroots. When we were still a red state, we had a strong ground game. And at the turn of the century in San Diego, we were deep red. Right around 2008, 2009, the California Republican Party said, no mas with the ground game. They literally gave up on the ground game. They said, we can win with tech. And the consultants, ironically, get paid more. Hold on. Yes, they did. They did give up on it. We went through 2 cycles where the California Republican Party was not even registering voters. And we went from the second registered Republicans to third, no party preference. Jessica Milan Patterson tried to sit there and say, we're registering voters, but the data did not show it. No, and as most of the state county chair said, no, we don't have a ground game. You have to have a ground game. And my proof is this. Right around 2008, 2009, we had a strong ground game in San Diego County. And Tony Cavarca, we both know and love, he let that go to hell. Why? Because it was dictated from above. We don't really need that anymore. And the mantra changed. It's our job to get registered Republicans to the polls. It's not our job to go knock on doors anymore. That's a candidate's job. That's the core difference.
When I got into California politics, I was told, yes, you're right about the ground game, but that we gave up on the local politics. We started losing seats locally, losing seats on school boards, and the Democrats were doing it. And that was part of what they were seeing in terms of the longer game. That's all. I mean, I think you're absolutely right because I know you get it more than I do. However, I'll just say that I still think a great candidate, even without a lot of money, can convince people, can be compelling, can be a breath of fresh air, and can win.
But see, Annette, you need to understand this. They have money. If they have charisma, if they're able to connect with the voters, who were the last 2 presidential candidates who had the most mild donor money?
Presidential candidates?
Yeah, as an example.
Donald Trump.
And?
Wait, don't tell me. Ronald Reagan?
No, Obama. They were like, why? Because they connected with it. And that money
Obama
came
was great.
about. That money came about through a ground game as well. For
I keep
example, Obama had in one district, he would have double the normal number, triple the normal number precinct captains. Where would they meet? In homes. He was
yep.
able to connect. Trump did the same thing. I walked with people, new people, they were out there for Trump. 2015. Only Trump. See, and if you're a one, two-man show, a small money, you have to connect with those people because that's how you get the money. It won't be a lot of money, but that's how you get the money. Because locally, we lost because what did we face? The teachers union in school board races, and then the regular unions in the city council races. Whereas the Republicans said, I don't care. And they focus on the national races, and the governorship. And you're not when you had your children, you didn't have them and boop, they're 13 years old. They were babies. Same
Yes.
concept. To have a strong state and national election rate, you have to start from the ground up. Why? That's where you get your candidates. That's where you groom your candidates to come up to learn. I hate saying this, but it's true. You have to know how to play the game.
Yeah.
And that's gone. That's gone. So my whole point is,
It's an excellent point.
Trump does not want to rock the boat, to get back on track here. He doesn't want to rock the boat. And because there are some congressional races we can win. For example, what I was saying about Armin Kurdian, he was stating, I need you guys to get involved. I may be better than my candidate, but she's a machine. The Democrat Party in California and Chicago, and you're guys, we don't win in the urban areas because the political machine of the 20s, the white democratic system of thuggery is in place. There were precincts in Philadelphia where Mitt Romney did not get one vote. It's a statistical impossibility. What they were trying to tell us is not one black person like Mitt Romney, that's a statistical impossibility. And the Republicans never challenged that. And then remember last cycle, when Trump lost 2020, they were boarding precincts up. They weren't allowing people to come in. So it's not that the fix is in. We don't have elections we can trust right now. And if you embolden the Democrat Party in California, it's like kicking in that hill. Others should not, they're going to do everything they can to win. They're going to do everything they can. So
Well,
right
yeah,
now,
Prop
why
50.
Prop 50? Exactly. He wants to gerrymander it. Okay. So they're not going into San Francisco. Bottom line, do you think they will go to San Francisco eventually?
No, I don't.
I don't think they're going to go there.
Level, we agree.
But my point is this: it was the tech giants like Huang and Benioff who I think it's Salesforce and also the one that's in the news, the soft chair chip maker that's in the news. I forget about him, the company's name, and I have their chips on my system. But anyway, they talked to Trump, you know. But we do need street level reality checks. And we need to review the books, the data. We need to talk to the people. We need to test the narrative. Why? Because these are campaign points we can sit there and take. Because it doesn't matter what they say. If these brown, black, these Asians were in the working class areas, my brethren Latinos, if they're feeling the heat, that's a vote we can turn over in today's climate. But if they go into San Francisco, that could galvanize the Democrats ahead of the midterms and unify them. And I think Trump's move is calculated. He's playing the long game. People look at Trump and say, well, he's dumb. He's not dumb. It's calculated. All right. Here's a topic that, boy, I love talking about health. This was because from Real Clear Politics. They came out, I don't want to say exclusive, but they're the only one who they broke the story, I guess. And it was the Secret Service. It talked about how bad the Secret Service has gotten. There's been multiple security lapses, as we all know. There's mounting political pressure. Well, I don't even call it political pressure from the perspective of they tried to kill President Trump a couple of times, you know? So that's legit. And they're trying to reform it. And just to give the audience a note here, is some of this the Secret Service. It's not your Hollywood movie Secret Service. It's more of your Keystone Cops Secret Service. A Secret Service officer, during the UN General Assembly meeting, and he left his automatic rifle unattended. Well, I got to take care of business. Let me put my gun down here. And he forgets about the gun. After Charlie Kirk's assassination, an agent posted on Facebook calling it karma. That agent's gone now. Over Labor Day weekend, agents missed a Glock pistol in a member's bag at a Trump golf course. The member self-reported error. Hey, boss, you got to look at my bag. Yeah. It's kind of like when a cop stops you, you tell them what you got in the car. Unless it's weed, coke, or another drug. And then you pray. Pro-Palestinian protesters confronted Trump inside a D.C. restaurant for over 30 seconds before security intervened. A physical altercation occurred between two female officers outside of Barack Hussein Obama's D.C. residence. Now, here's the kicker. field offices dropped their fitness requirements, or they allowed the agent to self-report their fitness. Now, this woman failed to give you an idea of her fitness level. My understanding is she was a plus size model. You know, where are you hiding that gun, woman? Your thoughts on the fact of how, I'm sorry. And then there was an internal DEI site that featured safe chat rooms for minority groups. Let me be upfront with the safe spaces. That's racism. When you get a safe space of all whites, a safe space of all blacks, a safe space of all Asians, of all Jewish, of all Catholics, bigotry, discrimination, and racism
It's like
begin.
segregation.
Yes, well, that's what the Democrats push. Remember college? The college black kids wanted the safe space. All that does is promote and push racism. Because when you have just, man, this supposed to be that supposed to be, you start to hate. Thomas Sowell, a black Marxist who is, in my opinion, are this past generation's greatest intellect, he talked about this. Begets hate. You get these groups, hate's gonna form. So they had their own cafe chat room for minority groups. So in essence, they had their own races. So they're gonna review fitness standards, we're gonna do a lot of things, but her name is on. It was under Kimberly Cheadle's tenure. The pathetic excuse for Secret Service director, an overweight agent who repeatedly failed the fitness test, was retained and allowed to moonlight as a model. You go, girl. She was featured in the magazine shoot titled "Undercover, but never underdressed." The marketed herself as a curve model, plus size fitness influencer. She fails the physical fitness test, but she's a plus size fitness influencer. That tells you everything about how far America is falling. And a body positive advocate. And she was assigned to protect Ella Emhoff, Kamala Harris's stepdaughter. After multiple fitness failures, they finally transferred her to a vehicle fleet mail package screening. I'm hammering her, and here's why. Not because she's a big, heavyset woman. I'm hammering her because you have to be fit. You have to throw yourself in front of a body to protect them. You have to be an example for others. You have to strive for greatness in that position because you can sacrifice your life. And I'm sick and tired of us uplifting obesity, heart issues, artery issues that leads to heart issues. That's that in our healthcare system is it's not right in any shape or form. So yeah, I don't like it. I don't condone it, and I will call it out. Well, that's me. What's your take on this sexy
Thank
big
you
woman?
for taking my talking point on that, because my talking point was about the plus size models. Is why are we?
Well, hold on, Annette. You're a woman. It's a stronger emphasis when it comes from you.
Well, why promoting being unhealthy though? Why are we promoting that? That doesn't understand that, and I do understand and appreciate that beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, and that I do understand and appreciate. Heck, William, I was a part of something called the Raw Beauty Project, which is basically just for individual women had disabilities. Professional photographers took our pictures and showed us, you know what I mean? With our disabilities. And they basically were saying, hey, this can still be beautiful, right? How much did that work? I mean, beauty is a very interesting thing that we could talk about at some point, but the plus size model, I get it. Everybody wants to feel good about themselves. We're a society now that's very like pro, whatever you are is beautiful. I don't know, because I guess beauty is definitely not objective. It's very subjective, but it's not healthy. That's the point. It's not healthy. Carrying that extra weight is not healthy for your body. That's why there's problems with diabetes and, as you said, heart problems. So back to what you're talking about, the Keystone Cops. I would just ask, are we running out of noble people to take on these types of positions? Because I think it takes a noble person to be the protector and defender and self-sacrifice your life for someone else's. And when you talk about somebody falling asleep and the carelessness of leaving their gun, I ask myself, like, where is the nobility in the people who need to be taking on these types of jobs?
I think it's a product of cultural rot.
Well, okay, that's.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a sign of cultural rot from the perspective of we've gotten lazy, we've gotten fat and lazy, and metaphorically as a culture. Technology has made life easy to the point. Now, don't worry there. We forget there are enemies in the world. It's like this Mamdani. I don't want to get into it, but the Mamdani character. Look at all his ties, the beliefs of Islam. If Islam wants to come here, give up Sharia law and become Americans, I'm fine. But a lot of them want to come here, implement Sharia laws. We're seeing in Dearborn that they want to do, as we're seeing in this community they're building down in Texas, as we're seeing in Mamdani, one of his kitchen circle, his kitchen cabinet is this one guy from the 90s who testified for one of the trade center
I was gonna say, can you believe only 25 years after the Twin Towers went down?
right.
It's
Right, and I looked it up here. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men,
man.
and weak men create hard times. And we are in a time of weak
Yes.
men. And by weak men, I don't mean physically weak. I mean corrupt. Biden, it was all about money. It was all you look at him, it's all about money. Obama, it was all about money. Well, how much money do you really need? Obama's worth anywhere from 60 to 120 million. But when he was president, how much money do you really need? Bernie Sanders. Well, those billionaires and millionaires. That was those millionaires because he's a millionaire. We've got a week where people forget the duty they take it. Even our spec ops have lowered standards. They went from boots when I was in doing auto training to tennis shoes. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but as a society, and don't get me wrong, those are still badasses, you know. But my point is, as a society, we have fallen. And that's why Trump is so beloved. People want a fighter. That's why Black Americans and Americans in general, Obama's first term, gravitated to him because they saw somebody who they thought could change. He was given a Nobel Peace Prize for who he was. And at the end of the day, he was no better than the rest of the politicians. And instead of embracing Trump and what he wants to do, they hate him. Ronald Reagan, they hated him. And those have been the last two great presidents of our time. You look at the economy, you look at what they've done, and that shows it. But strong men are actually disliked because they're strong. And women are even harder. Margaret Thatcher, you read some of those books, the names the men called her, but she was a damn strong woman
Yes, she was.
who believed in her nation.
She was principled, yeah.
Exactly. And Hillary isn't principled. Kamala isn't principled.
Oh my gosh.
Who's
I
Nikki Haley isn't principled. Tim Scott used to be principled. And how do I know? You look at their stance on Ukraine and their willingness to go send troops eventually. I apologize. I misspoke. They've never said to send troops, but they take the steps.
yeah.
To me, when I see those, I don't see the next Vietnam, but I see the same steps as people who were funded by the military industrial complex. It's not their boys being sent to die. Gavin Newsom's kids who went to private school when he shut other schools down. Gavin Newsom went to the French Laundry as he forces to be masked. Gavin Newsom, talks about honor, integrity as he slept with his best friend's wife. Gavin Newsom is complaining about Trump's renovations, yet we don't know where the billions of California taxpayer dollars are going with the renovations in Sacramento, in the mansion, or wherever he's doing it. So that is true. We are in an era where I look at today's men, these young men, they're not young men. They're literally pajama boys, there's a reason younger women are gravitating to older men. You know, they want somebody who's successful, somebody who can take care of them. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Actually, I am saying that's right in the sense you want somebody who's strong, who's successful. I mean, do you really want your daughters? Mom, I brought Joey home. Hey, Joey, how you doing? What you do for a living? I'm an influencer. Really? So what part of San Diego you live with?
I
Logan Heights. Really? You got a house? Live with my mama. Are you gonna go to your husband? This guy's a winner. You're doing good, but no, you're going to be all stressed out. What the hell's you doing with this guy? That's today's young man. And I am generalizing, and because there are some good kids out there,
Yep.
but the majority of them are the ones that are helping the Mamdanis of the world, the ones that still believe Gavin Newsom really wants to help them, despite the track record, the ones who don't know how to critically think, the ones who sit there and are told something and don't bother to look it up and spew lies. We see it with Charlie Kirk. That during this No Kings rally, they were asking people. Even one young kid said, "So why you out here?" Oh no, it just seems like the thing to do. That's more often the case than not. Anyway, your final take.
Well, I think you said it best when you said there was cultural rot. And but I honestly believe I'm seeing the change in the younger people because I'm around them a lot, having 5 daughters. And I see that they see that it doesn't work, that there's something to be said for finding a husband that can be a protector and a defender and a provider. So I think that actually a lot of young girls are still seeking that out. And I believe that they see the value in it. So I've got a lot of hope. I know that I think we're coming out of the pajama era. and the boys in the basements. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh
their
yeah.
parents' basements. I think we're coming out of it because I don't think it has led to people feeling more peace or happier as individuals. So I think I do have some hope there because I'm around the younger generation um, with my daughters. But I think we're almost seeing the worst of it right now with the lack of nobility we see in human beings and the lack of integrity. I guess the fear I'd have, William, is how AI, how that will play in to how people are in the future.
Right.
Will it be more like you saw the Disney Pixar movie WALL-E? Could that happen? Could you just be sitting and just watching and just not participate? You know what I mean? Like
Yes, I believe that. I
seeing that
do.
movie,
Which one?
WALL-E, the Disney Pixar film.
Oh god, that came out years ago. I
But
saw it, but
it
I can't even remember it.
but look, but William, it showed people in their chairs, glazed over, satiating their bodies by feeding themselves, fat and lazy, and just watching the world go by on a screen.
No, you're absolutely correct.
So
I
that's
believe
that
I
would be
believe
the
in
thing.
yeah,
That would
I
be the
believe in
notion.
50 years, the ability to have a virtual thing and literally live your life out of a chair is going to be a possibility, and I
It's
think they would be
it's
happy with that, you know? And it is changing. Pete Hegseth, these these huge, humongous, overweight officers, flag officers, he wants to set a standard.
he is.
So yes, it is changes. I just don't think these are embarrassing stories. I think they are, as we talked about, they're a warning sign of a deeper problem, a cultural rot we need to come at of. And that starts with education, which is another topic. But when priorities shift to optics and identity, standards take a back seat. And if you let fitness slide and you fill quotas, you're rolling the dice with public safety, as we saw with President Trump, and as we saw at that baseball field, what, about 10 years ago. The plus size model agent. She may be a great advocate. I don't think she is, as she considers herself a fitness influencer after failing the fitness test. But she may think she's great. But the Secret Service, they need muscle. They don't need an influencer. And we can respect diversity, but the mission always comes first. I used to tell my employees, I love you. I will do everything I can to help you with your careers and your life. And I did. Many of them went on to get great jobs, but I always told them the company's mission comes first. Same thing with the Secret Service. Protect the people, protect the president. It's common sense. You get serious, or these lapses become the new normal. And I hate to say it, but we are entering the new normal.
Even more so with Secret Service, William, because people's lives are on the line.
That's right.
You were setting a company standard, and that's really important. But in this case, the stakes are even higher.
Exactly. People's lives. All right. CNN was caught exhibiting a blatant double standard in covering Trump's privately funded White House renovation versus a much larger taxpayer funded renovation under Obama. I'm talking about the ballroom he's building. For the audience out there, what they have done in the past is too small. They put tents up, and that's how they would host dignitaries with big dignitaries and big parties in that nature. And if it would rain, you're kind of screwed. So Trump wanted, hey, Trump's lived large his whole life. Started out with a few million, turned it into a few billion. So he's used the dignitaries, the important people, and he knows they're accustomed to certain representation and how they're seen and where they function at. And building this out at the East Wing is necessary in his eyes. It's something past presidents are complained about. So he has a $250 to $300 million White House renovation, and it's fully funded by private donors. And they know many of the companies, not necessarily the individuals, including Trump himself. If I'm correct, his salary may be going towards it, and so it's not costing the taxpayers a dollar. And so it's a new ballroom, and this work's probably going to extend beyond Trump's current term. But guess who had his own renovations of 376 million that the taxpayers paid for?
Obama.
Obama. Barack Hussein Obama. Your thoughts?
Thoughts are people, I saw this clip. I saw a couple different clips on this, and people were being filled with disgust, using all of the word a demolition. They love these dramatic words. They love the drama of it all to make it seem like Trump is just destroying. Listen, I think the White House is has a lot of historical value. They're saying that East Wing was 1901. There was a renovation, 1942. There was another renovation. And now this is going to be, a very large renovation. I think people don't like change, and they worry about like the historical feeling of something. But the truth is, there's many like construction changes, like you were just talking about at the White House, and this is Trump putting his stamp on it and making um yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, I'm one of those people. First of all, I would never use dramatic words the way they're using and make it seem like it was going to be something and now it's something else. And it's just one more thing for them to sort of like create this narrative about Trump, and that's what's so annoying about it. For me, I like the historical value of some of these buildings, so I guess I'm just like, you made an interesting point. Like they were using tents and stuff like that. This is going to be far better than that. So
Well, you know,
I think it was
they're hypocrites. Look, they're
1901.
hypocrites. They said
Right?
nothing when Obama did it. Nothing. They don't,
Well, we know they're hypocrites, though, right? I mean, you really, it's just we can't let them get away with it. That's your point, I think.
well, let's review this chart here. What we're looking at, my friends, is notable White House renovations. Let's take a trip down history lane. 1800, the White House was completed. 1817, it was rebuilt following the 1814 burning. 1824 to 1829. The South and North Port, they added to it. 81, they added the Tiffany window to the entrance hall. 1900, 1902, the West Wing was added. See, y'all be thinking, oh, that's been there since day one. No, it hasn't. The West Wing has not. No, y'all be believing Sheen there, Martin Sheen, and West Wing, the series was there from day one. No, in 48 to 52, massive internal renovation, solar panels installed under the West Wing. It was removed under Reagan. That crap technology back then. Rose Garden is paved over in 2000. 2025 construction begins on the second ballroom. So this has been happening. Can I get your thoughts on this and that?
Hey, where's the Obama renovation in here?
They were probably. I think that was. Oh yeah, you're right. It doesn't have it in there. Go
Yeah, so
figure.
I guess okay. My thoughts
Well,
on it
this
is that,
chart came from. I think I got this chart off of CNN. Obama.
well, of course, then they don't want to include that.
I don't know. I don't know, but that's a good point.
No,
But here's the issue I want you to answer on. I think they hate Trump so much, they want to bury him. They'll never be able to bury him. You look at Biden, you look at Obama's economy, their policies, they'll quickly be forgotten. Obama will always have the asterisk as the first Black American president elected. But as far as his greatness, he'll be down there in the bottom third when you look at the numbers. That's not me talking, that's the data talking. I think they were hoping to bury Trump in a similar way. The problem here is every time they see this the new East Wing, the bar room, they're going to be reminded Trump. I think that's another reason their TDS has exploded off the charts.
oh my gosh, I love the TDS. It's actually a real thing. Like when I was watching just really quickly, when I was watching the King No Kings protest, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And they're interviewing all these people. TDS is actually a real thing. What do I think? I think you said it earlier. You said it really well. He likes to do things in a really grand way. The White House has gone under lots of iterations, right? And he's
Right.
putting his piece on it. You know what I mean? And that is, I'm sure it's going to be magnificent. I'm sure it's going to be grand. I'm sure it's going to be all the things that Trump, that's who he is. You know what I'm saying? It might be all gold. Who knows? I mean, that's sort of his, he's ornamental in his sort of and design, even like pictures that I've seen, you know what I'm saying? He does
Right.
things that way and he does his buildings that way. And so this is going to be probably even more so because it's the White House. Do I personally love it? I would probably be one of those people who had everything back from like the 1800s and I'd keep on just like painting over the wood, just because I am like I love the old traditional historic homes that cannot even be renovated anymore because they're being protected. And what I'm 1000% agree with you on is the hypocrisy. That's the thing. And I guess my problem is I've just come and I shouldn't do this with William. I should not do this. I should be outraged, but I've come to just expect that. And so I'm like, that's just their noise about Trump. It's part of the TDS that I literally tune out. And we'll see. We'll see what grand sort of idea this becomes.
So some people say this is a game changer in
A game
terms of
changer.
election. I think that's the TDS. Look, I dealt with TDS here with who we all love. We love Big John. I would publicly tell, bro, you're TDS. You're TDS. So I'll never forget the one line when the tariffs went into play and the stock market really dropped. And I said, dude, a month later we're at an all-time high.
Yeah.
It's you can't people. A bit of advice: do not look at politics from a static point of view. You will lose every time. You have to look at the bigger picture, and that's what they. So, what's your final word?
Interesting. No, no. And look at the stock market now dancing around the highs still.
No, I'm not going to lie. We are working class people. I lived the American dream, was able to build a business, sell it for millions of dollars. And I hate Uncle Sam because because I had a partner. I'm like, what the? It's like, I knew it was coming, but seeing how much you sold it for and how much you really got. But anyway, my point is my wife handles our finances. I shouldn't say that, but it's one of the things I let her do. She was all excited.
Oh, you're so
Trump's
funny.
economy has jacked up our portfolio to the
Yeah.
highest it's ever been. So, you got to look at things from the big picture. That's why I applaud Trump. It's not about me liking Trump, people. It's about what has Trump
His
done.
policies. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. As a Latino, I do feel I have a duty to my brethren Latinos. But I also felt when I was elected, I had a duty to my community. Meaning I was able to rise above that because my mama would beat me in the head. And when you see two dictators in action, you realize it's the plight of the common man that we must help if we can. So
I
so
think
so so
so.
I look at what Trump has done. He's uplifted it. Obama didn't do that. Biden didn't do that. Bush didn't do that. Clinton may have been the last president who kind of did that a little bit, but I'm not sure. But the point is you got to take a look back. That's why I support it. And I don't play the politics. So real quick before we move on, $376 million figure refers to the estimated cost of upgrade project known as the White House Big Dig. Repeat, the White House Big Dig.
Yeah.
And it took place during Obama's presidency. This was not personal spending by Obama. Of course not. It was taxpayer spending, taxpayer funded effort. It was to modernize and repair critical systems in the White House complex, including the East and West wings. You didn't hear anything whining about then. Why? Because it was necessary. I wouldn't have whined. I'm like, yeah, you got to upgrade the White House. And what makes it worse is Trump's doing it with private money and his money, and he's upgrading it to be able to accept dignitaries. So instead of traveling here, hey, just come on down here to my backyard. You'll love it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about CBS News. For all of you guys not aware, thought and now owns Barry Weiss in every way. Her company reports were that it was worth 30 million at best. It was generating about 16 million, anywhere from 12 to 16 million in revenues, and they paid her like 130 million. So in essence, they bought her, meaning she will do anything and whatever they need. They want her to come in and straighten it out. The problem is that's a completely leftist news. We saw that with CBS, as I said in the intro. I forget his name. You probably know David, whatever. All those softball interviews. It's like he's what you call a political fluffer, the 60 Minutes guy, in terms of the
You
interviews
mean
he
Scott
gave.
Pelley?
The Scott Pelley who was doing all those interviews with Obama. Yes, he's Scott the Fluffer Pelley. Then you had Diane Sawyer, who's like a battering ram on Trump. The problem is, I want a battery ram with my journalists, but not when it's built on lies, it wasn't Diane Sawyer, it was Leslie Stahl. It was built on lies that were disproven later. She got pushback. She sent out an Elon email. Hey, what's your schedule to do that? And they all went and ran to the union. And the powers that be, what's the saying, buckled or and said they said, oh, no, don't worry about that. And Barry Weiss came out, don't worry about it. What should have happened, the powers that be should have said, she sent you a damn email. She's your boss. Answer the email or there will be consequences. To the union, we have rules and standards here. If you don't want to report and tell your boss what the bleep you're doing, then yes, you will be fired. And so round one goes to the leftist newsroom. And to me, this is what she's going to have to deal with. She's going to have to deal with a chain of command that does not have her back. And it's not like she's a conservative. She's not. She's a center left liberal. So what do you think of the whole Barry Weiss issue? Oh, and real quick for the audience,
Yeah.
it's David Ellison announced last week or 2 weeks ago that Barry Weiss was stepping in as a new exec at CBS. And they shelved 150 million. They overpaid her by about 120 million at the Free Press. And so she fires off a memo to the staff on October 11th asking, hey, what's your daily grind? What you're proud of? How can we fix things? She was just reaching out. and they went ballistics as if she stepped on a minefield. Your thoughts?
Okay. First of all, we got to unpack this for 1 second. I have to separate out 60 Minutes from CBS News just for a moment. I have to because I happen to know a lot of people who work at 60 Minutes and have worked there, and I know them personally. And I've had conversations with them telling me that they would get as much hate mail from the right as they would from the left. So it's interesting to me that the stories that they would do garnered pretty equal amounts of criticism, which means they were trying to like get the middle line. And maybe over the years that's gotten worse, but I think that I had a lot of respect for that program. I think it's changed, like so many things have changed. But I think at one time it was the standard. Like
Yes, yes, yes.
the gold standard, in my opinion. And I'm in my 50s, right? So I remember that even growing up, we would watch like some wild animal kingdom show, and then 60 Minutes would come on, tick, 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 tick. And I'd watch the stories. And that's how I used to get my news as a kid. I mean, I loved those kinds of segments that would go like in depth on certain topics. So I have a lot of fondness for the old 60 Minutes. I think Barry Weiss is in way over her head. I'm sorry,
Yes.
but
She's not qualified for the
yeah,
gig. She's
no,
not.
and these people are going to eat her alive.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. And she left the New York Times to do this.
No, she left the New York Times because she wasn't leftist enough.
No, but what I'm saying, and I agree with that. I know, but I'm saying like because then she did the Free Press, which I've really enjoyed. I have certain readers that I really love their pieces in the Free Press. What I'm saying to you, and now she's going back into this kind of the newsroom. I mean, like this kind of newsroom, which seems like I don't know. I
Well,
feel like I don't understand her move.
no, you have to. It's easy. So she was a
Ever
working woman.
since.
She was a working woman.
Yeah.
16 million was being brought in, 12 to 16 million a year, about a few years. But that's a company that was bringing in the revenue. This is a chance for her to take care of her family and her kids. To me, it's 150 million for the company. She's probably majority owner. Some of her investors are going to get their cut, but she's now taking care of. So she's looking at the bigger picture in
Well,
her life.
no. You just said
In
she's
her life.
looking at money. That's all you just said to me.
Yes, but
Yeah.
the bigger
Tell us
picture of her
something.
money, getting her retirement taken care of, her health taken care of, her kids' lives taken care of. That's
Okay, but
that's that's generational
wealth.
changing money. No,
Okay, but
not wealth, not wealth. Wealth is
William,
billionaire wealth. That can turn into billions if the right hedge fund, all that stuff. That's what I'm talking about. She
and you
can
don't
now.
think she would have ever gotten there with the Free Press?
No, the free press, like I said, they paid that much because they now own her. She does. She's going to do what they say. I'm not saying that's a negative way. I'm saying that's how life works.
She was
She
making
knows
$10 million a year in the Free Press. I mean,
what
I read all about this. She was making.
she was not making 10 million. The free press was making 10 million.
She
She's
was
got employees, she's got costs, she's got it costs. I had a small company, multi-million dollar sale. It cost us almost $1 million to run the company every year. What we had to pay our writers, what we had to pay the staff, the full time. Then we got health once we sold. We got those costs. People do not understand. It takes money to
I
run a
think you're
business.
wrong. I think you're wrong. I'm pretty sure I read about this, and I want clarity for our listeners. Anyone who's listening to this, what was Barry Weiss making when she ran the Free Press? I think more than you think.
It wasn't 10 million a year. That I can tell you. Anyway, let's keep going, and then you can bring that up once you find it. But let's not keep the
Okay, but
audience hanging.
it was quite a bit of money. I think she had like
Free Pass, she's an independent.
she had 300,000. She
No,
had
okay, here we go. No, Barry Weiss did not earn 10 million per year. The figure appears to stem from a common mix-up with either her estimated personal net worth around 10 million as of 2025 or the annual revenue generated by her media company
like
that
okay,
also
so
reported over 10 million before. And see, this
it's
is
different.
how people get fooled. People thought I was rich because I had a small business. Oh, Williams living large. What the hell are you talking about?
She was doing well though, William. She was doing
Yes.
well. And
Yes.
now what I'm saying to you is now she is in over her head. So back to my point about what's happening now with her at CBS. And I think it's going to be a lot tougher than she ever imagined because I agree. I read what she sent out to the employees. Hey, I want to know like what's working, what's not working. Like, let's have this conversation.
No. I absolutely agree. She went from a little small startup with a few people
Yeah.
that started to grow with investors guiding her to now she's a head honcho with a massive responsibility. Look, and the reason I know this is because from the military, And then I worked at a couple of nonprofits and I became a small time entrepreneur. But I always knew there's a level I could take it to, then I needed help so I could grow from that experience. Then I sat on the board where I was the only poor man with a bunch of multimillionaires, but I learned the process. I learned how the board worked. I learned how the divisions were handled, how people reported. And I did that for over a year and a half. And I didn't like it because I'm more of a hands on guy. I'm more of a God dang it. If you're not going to do it this way, but so you have to have a certain capacity to do that. The problem is to my final comment on this, people, is to create change. You got to get rid of everybody. Like, for example, you said you respect all those people over there. I don't, because they're going to tell you, well, we actually get it from both sides. You're a leftist network. You're a leftist news division since the turn of the century.
Every one of
90s.
those
But,
journalists was not a leftist person. They were not.
there is enough data out there that shows like literally 90% of these newsrooms are liberals who donate. So when you say it's not everybody, it's easily 90%. Take NPR, they're DC. It was like 89 leftists, 0 Republicans. That's the norm. You do not survive as a conservative at those outlets. Remember Rona McDaniel at MSNBC to give the conservative point? How dare you hire her? She's gone. So you look at CNN. You don't find there's one conservative there, Scott Jennings. And the only reason they keep him there is because he brings in ratings. Now let's be clear on this. It's not there are conservatives there. No, there's a conservative or two at most of these places.
So I'll put the question back to you. You think she's going to make it?
No, I think she'll do her few years, get burnt out. They'll find an amicable party in the ways, and that newsroom's going to stay the same. And that's my point. CNN's a great example. CNN's a great example. They tried to do what she's doing there now, and they failed. And they got the CEO eventually fired. You have to clean house, eat the checks.
So that means Chris Licht? You mean Chris
Yes,
Licht?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Who I also know
Yeah.
personally.
Well, he's gone now because he tried to do it the nice way. Look, this is the military in me coming out. Sometimes this is something I was taught, I read, then I saw it in the movie. When you have to create change, you make an example of the biggest, strongest person. Once you show the rest of them, I'll take out your favorite guy. I'll take out Anderson. Get out of here. I'll take out that 60 Minutes, Leslie Shaw, all that. Get out. Everybody else will start to fall in line. So,
to your point, Barry Weiss comes in and tells Leslie Stahl what to do. Seriously?
But that's my point. That's my whole point. If she was hired to clean house and they don't have her back, that's what you're saying. Nobody has her back. They're setting her up to fail.
To swim. Yeah, she's going to fail.
But she could put them in a corner. They just bought it. I'm firing her. I'm in charge of this news division. No, you're not. To the New York Post. Yeah, they wouldn't let me do this, do this, do this. They hired me just for show. That's what happened to Chris Licht at CNN. They just revolted. To create the change, you have to fire them. And there's tons of good talent out there. And you don't hire somebody from the Ivy Leagues. You hire somebody who has shown their work to be fair and balanced, to be arbiters of the news, not arbiters of the ideology. And that's the only way that will work. If not, you're not going to change the culture. So we'll see. All right, let's do one more story here.
One more story.
Let's talk about the majority of Americans support President Trump's military strikes on drug smuggling boats. Wow.
Don't get me started.
So a majority of Americans support Trump's military strikes on drug smuggling boats. I've got like 15 sources I went through. So a lot of polling has shown that expanded military operations show broad public support for President Trump's escalating campaign against drug smuggling boats operated by the South American cartels. So this story keeps moving. Why? Because we keep killing more drug cartel runners. And Trump's team isn't just sticking to the Caribbean. Now he's hitting cartel boats in the Pacific. Was it the Caribbean we were operating? No, it was the West Coast. Yeah, we were operating in the Pacific. And I was an interpreter. That wasn't my job. That was one of the side gigs. And when I would they'd wake me up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Look, they got an op running. They need you up there. And what would I do? I would translate what they're saying. Yeah, they're running drugs. They're getting ready to throw them overboard, or they're doing this or this. Why? Because we were honing in other communications. I was it was a destroyer. So it was the funniest thing. And here's the captain, full speed ahead. And I'm thinking, you think we're going to catch that boat? Our job was the communications side of it and to pinpoint where they were with our technology, et cetera, et cetera. And they were clear drug runners. It's not hard to once you see them to figure it out. And look, I'm sorry. But when you got Colombian, their president, who's more than likely bought and paid for and owned by the cartel, who sat there and pretty much said he wants Trump taken out because he's creating turmoil in an interview in one of these Spanish networks, I think Trump's doing the right thing. Look, if you go to war, you go to war. This war on drugs nonsense, I am hardcore. I'm like, if you know the cartels at that building, just take them out. Because Mexico's not helping us, Colombia's not helping us. And you know what? We keep sending them money for this, for that, for this. And it's just corrupt. It's going into these corrupt officials' pockets. So Trump just taking them these out as they're coming in is great. Annette, do you realize it came out in the news, but I've known this for decades. The cartel has subs. They have subs. They started out with like 2-man subs and all that. They grow sophisticated. We are not fighting the Joe Blow you see in the opening scene of a drug cartel movie where they're just dumb morons in trucks or on mules. They're very sophisticated. So real quick to get your point on this, what are some of the 70% of Americans back Trump's military action against drug smuggling boats? And let me remind you, and over 250,000 people have been killed with fentanyl. Fentanyl overdoses. Now, Congress is the Paul Rands who voted with Democrats for crap, but doesn't believe in this. Who the problem with libertarians is they all expect human nature to act a certain way and never does. Rand Paul will be taken out by somebody the moment he turned his back, thinking, "Oh, if I use my libertarian ways here, we'll be good." No, you won't. Then you have just Democrats who are against it. For what reason? They hate Trump. TDS in action. Your thoughts on what Trump is doing?
I need to ask you honestly why you think he's doing it. Really. I really want to know.
Alcohol took his brother out. Trump has a history of always being vocal and anti-drugs. Trump has never smoked, drank, or done a drug in his life. And when he first ran in 2015, one of his topics people conveniently forget was the fentanyl trade and how it was killing Americans. That's why I said over 250,000. It was really rampant. Trump kind of ended some of that through China sanctions, and now he's taking it a step further. Drugs are a major problem. The decadence of our civilization. Weed is legal. When I was a kid, those THC levels, I don't know, 3, 4, 5%, and you're getting ripped. Now it's 18, 19, 30% THC.
Why don't we tackle it from another, angle? Why don't we tackle it by trying to teach our young people, this is not an alternative. This is not something they should be doing. I mean, I think like you take the demand away, people don't want it.
No, that's
oh my gosh, I hate when you say
but it was tried. That's why. Remember the war on drugs with Nancy Reagan?
I don't believe that. That was BS. I'm sorry. We could talk about that another time. Everything I read about that was BS. But go back to him doing this. I'm scared for him that he's doing this. Unless it's a bit of a show, why would he take this on? I know he's really brazen. He's a really big, tough guy, but I wouldn't even want to eat my food now.
Well, let's be cynical. Let's be cynical.
Let's be cynical.
Let's look at it from a political perspective. The
Political.
working class are being destroyed by this. The poor and working class.
No one makes you do
You're
personal
right.
choice.
No one does, but yet you're wrong. Your kids get peer pressured into doing a lot of things. And that's not no one gets pressured. You do get pressured into doing, I'll just try it once, little Johnny. Nobody wants to be a drug addict. Then they think they can handle it. You see, you got to look at the world from a realistic perspective. You're right. No one is forcing him to do drugs. No one is forcing. That's a very libertarian take you have. But the problem is this.
Drugs. I lived in the south side of Chicago.
Yes,
I've
and you
never
are
done
in the
drugs.
minority. Did you really grow up in the tough neighborhoods? Were you out scrapping every day, fighting your fellow kids, running with gangs? No.
But my brother was beaten up on the street for selling cocaine.
Yeah.
His friends were thugs, and I was scared of them.
But you also have kids with no father figure, kids with broken families, kids who are brought up in that world. See, you got to take a step back. See, the reason I'm like that is because I've seen that with my family in Panama who are dirt poor. It's an easier way out in their minds. Then the people that get hooked on it, they're being pushed with peer pressure and by their own druggies, their own, what do they call it? The ones they buy the drugs from. It's so that happens. And then once you're hooked, and my data, you're right. It's easy for you to sit there and say, well, no, you can't do that. But I'm with you. You're making a choice, but that's not how real life works. An alcoholic does not grow up to be an alcoholic. There's also studies showing we have certain people have different genes, which make you quickly more dependent. My point is it's happening. It's nonsense to go, that's a choice.
I get it. I get that it's reality. Let's see if it actually makes a difference, him blowing up the boats.
No, it'll make a temporary difference, but until we take the cartels themselves out, it won't make a long-term difference. And fentanyl, as I said, has killed over what, 250,000 people. I can't remember how many, but it doesn't take much
I'm not
to kill that.
walking because of a person who was hooked on fentanyl.
There you
So,
go.
I mean, I know it has obviously horrible effects for that individual. And then she was a doctor and made a mistake with me. I mean, and the, what would you call it? The damage, the collateral damage off of a
That's
situation
right.
like that. But I would just also say that doing stuff like that, I'm also just one American citizen. I find it frightening. But hey, Trump is not afraid to look at a bully and stare him down.
Right, right. And fentanyl deaths have dropped because of the what Trump implemented and then continued on. Biden didn't do away with some of the policies he made, kind of like tariffs. Biden didn't do it with Chinese tariffs, even though now they hate Trump. So that it's a situation in which it's a situation in which it's a reality. In a perfect world, yeah, sure, it's your choice. But here's also the other issue. It's
Don't
hooked
act
on
like you
drugs.
don't have any autonomy. Do not act like
I have autonomy. No, I'm telling you, that's part of it. But looking at the reality of it is, how do you explain to somebody whose mother or grandmother was killed because a meth head broke into the house and was robbing him and killed the person, and then the authorities had let that guy go over and over and over. You can put the fault on the guy, yeah. But then you also have to look at the root. Why was he like this? It's kind of like helping the black community, helping my brethren Latinos out. I'm like, what's the root of the problem?
right. Exactly.
The
Exactly.
root of the problem are the drugs.
'Cause we haven't lifted up our society. We're not lifting each other up. You said you just
No,
called.
that's just helping one another. What's the root of the problem? They got hooked on drugs. The drugs got into their hands. Don't you remember peer pressure as a kid?
Oh my gosh. You're making it seem like human beings are weak, and they're not.
Look at our society right now. Look at our society right now. Marijuana, you said, an all-time high. It's not like we've always been weak in certain ways. I mean, but we've also come to realize, see, here's the thing about marketing. There's a great Netflix special. I can get you hooked to do anything. You need to watch it. I will send you that show, and then you'll understand how marketing works subliminally. I'm a marketer. You keep saying things, you keep doing. You combine that with also look at the opioid crisis, the docs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Take 10 of these. The big pharma knew the problem.
Well,
Still, illegal drugs are illegal.
no.
It's to me they're
Wait,
one and the same.
the opioid crisis is different in the fact that people were legitimately taking them for their pain, right? They had a
That's how
surgery.
none of this starts.
A lot of the legal drugs don't.
No, no, no.
I'm different in that I have a different chemistry. I don't like taking things, period. So, like, I just don't. So, I
And
wouldn't
when
take the drugs they gave me, even when they gave me painkillers.
you
Who
know,
would take them? My family would take them for me, not me.
oh yeah, I'll keep my wife's some, or if I have drugs, I'll keep it forever. But no, I'm with you. I understand. See, as I grew older, I realized how damaging weed and coke was in my mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
I realized watching that special, it's like, oh yeah, that's why I thought that way, or that's why I did this way when I marketed something. It's very powerful how you market, how you promote, how you push something. Illegal drugs, it's like getting the drug in your hand is the first step. Like I was peer pressured into drinking vodka. I think I was in 8th grade. We were skipping school. I got flat out hammered. They kept on drinking. One of the kids I know became an alcoholic. I just lost touch with him. Another one of my dear friends, he's been a stoner his whole life. He enjoys it. But I backed away from that. But I was no saint, don't get me wrong. But I realized, especially when they made it legal, I'm like, all right, let's check this out. That's when I realized, oh my God, because I was pro cannabis. Now I'm like, no, that stuff should still be illegal because it also keeps you docile. What was deemed, before we go, what was deemed essential during COVID that should have made your head go,
What was deemed essential? You mean like wearing a mask?
no, what was deemed essential? Remember, everything was shut down except those items that were deemed essential:
Oh, fast food?
cannabis and liquor. It's a way to control you. It's a way to keep you docile. It's a way to keep your minds off of what they're really doing. Why would those two things be deemed essential?
I don't know.
Exactly. There is no reason to know. And with that, any final words to the audience, Ms. Annette?
My goodness. I mean, we just like opened up like a loaded gun, William, in this conversation.
Really, I
this,
proved my point. There's no reason for it that nobody that's that one age-old question that nobody can answer, but we all know the answer.
what's the question?
Why were they deemed essential?
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like the Roman Colosseum.
I don't know if
Why
that's
did they
age.
build a Colosseum to slaughter people? They have war, for matches of the death. It kept the people happy.
Are we still doing that's bread and circuses? Aren't we still doing that now with like the WW whatever that stuff is?
There's no sport in America where you fight to the death and the guy goes kill.
That's true, but don't you find the fighting sort of in a similar vein?
We're a savage
You love to say that,
species.
and I honestly wish we weren't. That's the
One
best
day
of
our
us.
brains will get big like that Star Trek episode, "Whoa," and our bodies will get skinny like the Greys because we are intellectual creatures.
Okay, well then I'll just end by saying if it does in the end take it reduce its availability, then I think it's a really good thing because it's a one less difficult choice that people have to make on their own if it's just not there and they're not able to use it so easily. So then that is a very helpful thing. But I think Trump is putting himself really in a line of fire and the cartels are nothing to mess with.
You know what? That may
Scares
be
me for
true.
him. It scares
Uh,
me.
but if the cartel or anybody took him out, it would be death to that nation, its leaders, its cartels, because JD would go nuts on them. As a former combat veteran, he would show them no mercy. And I think Trump is doing this partly to show the strength of America. We've been punching bags for the last two, we were a punching bag from Jimmy Carter on up, except for the Reagan years, but we've been a punching bag ever since the Reagan years ended. And I think Trump is saying we're no longer punching bags, and he's smacking them. And the cartel won't do anything to Trump because of what I just said JD would do. They're just going to go, they are a corporation. They're going to look at the books, say, we're going to take a hit for another 4 years, maybe 8 years. Then we'll get a Democrat in there and everything will be good again. And that's what they're business people too. That's how they stay alive. They're not rash. And with that, my friends, that's our show for the week. It ran a little long. Our apologies, but I thought it was a good debate. We left some topics off. I'll figure out how to get into them. Maybe do hot takes later this week, but we'll see. But that's our show. Before we go, make sure you hit like or thumbs up. Give us thumbs up and share this podcast. Then bookmark grumblingsmedia.com and follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, or Pandora under the profile Grumblings Media. Until next week, I am William Del Pilar for myself and Annette Ross, and this has been Fired Up. Stay safe, and we are out.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.